Woohoo!
Morning.
And good morning, sir. How are you this morning?
Doing all right.
Well, welcome.
Doing all right.
What is this? This is number 17, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Wow. So welcome, everybody. This is our 17th episode of YMA Martial Arts Chat. And I'm super excited, first of all, to just say last week we actually did it on Sunday night, and I was super impressed. We had like 13 people watching it live. We had a couple people that were in the comments, that were chatting in the comments, adding input, adding their own experience. Recently, Mrs. Denise, who just acquired her black belt, and wow, what a powerful testimony to be able to share some of the things that she was writing in the Facebook messaging. We are streaming this live on Facebook, my Facebook, Mr. Yarwood's studio Facebook, my coaching website, my LinkedIn, my YouTube, and then it gets put on to Mr. Yarwood's YouTube and X, formerly known as Twitter. And today is part 2 of dedication in martial arts. And I should preface all of this by why are we doing this? I'll let Mr. Yarwood share his reason for doing this podcast. My reason for doing this podcast is two. One, Mr. Yarwood is a client of mine, and I'm a client of his. So that's check first and foremost. Second is the difference that I see martial arts. I just turned 61, and the difference martial arts makes in my personal life, both in the studio and out of the studio, causing me to level up my game. And the health-wise, limber-wise, and also focus-wise, my dedication to Mr. Yarwood and Yarwood Martial Arts and to the organization is one that has come about because of the difference that I see it makes in the youth, and it makes in every person that comes in there, including the one person that's 1 year older than me, Mr. Greg, who is just the epitome of somebody that, you know, all summer long, he plays golf and works in the golf industry. And then, you know, he got addicted to the bug of martial arts, thanks to his daughter, who became your student first, I believe. And then,
yes, sir.
He joined in, and now it's, and you can sense the difference it's made in him at 62 years old. I experience this peacefulness, because he's a 62-year-old that is like a 28-year-old, wiry, when I first met him, was high strung, just kind of a wild and crazy guy, right there with all of his energy. And so much so that when he started, I'm like, man, is he ever going to be able to control this energy? And speed, like he went fast.
Yep.
And his dedication, right? So what I see and you know, as my introduction today, his dedication, and watching that, and now seeing the impact back on him and his life of martial arts is one of the reasons I'm here. So I'm going to hand the mic over to you, let you just do an introduction to why you're here. Why are you doing this, Mr. Yar? What are you putting up with this bald-headed guy for?
No, I started my martial arts journey officially when I was in 9th grade. And unfortunately, I had to quit due to my I was a single mom. with 2 kids. She was working full time, going to school, and I just couldn't continue anymore. And I stopped doing it, kind of forgot about it, moved on, played football, did all these other things. Fast forward to 2008, I decided to get back into it. You know, my son at the time was 2 years old. We adopted him from Korea, and what I do, Taekwondo, is a Korean martial art, and it just kind of fit. So I decided to try getting back into it. At the time, I was 36 years old. You know, like that same thought that everybody has when they're adults, like, oh, it's for kids, I'm too old, all that stuff, right? And I wasn't doing anything on a regular basis that was causing me to do, you know, physical activity. I did a few things here and there, but not consistently. And so I decided that I was going to try martial arts again. I went into the school. It took me 6 months to make the decision. Once I thought about it, finally went in, and I was immediately hooked. Like, this is what I want to do. But it was more the physical side, right? I was enjoying being physical with it. Didn't even realize all the other things I was learning until my instructor started to talk to me about other stuff, becoming an instructor, all that stuff. Because once my son joined when he was 3, I got invited to be an instructor with him. I didn't know I was an instructor. I thought I was just helping out in class. Turned out I was I became part of the instructor program inadvertently. And I started to see the difference it was making in my life in terms of how I thought about things, how I assessed my physical capabilities, how my thought processes were changing. My attitude was changing. My desire to learn more and more was changing. And it set me off on a different trajectory than I was expecting. And I also saw what it was doing for the other students, and in particular my son, and what it was, you know, even at 3, 4, 5 years old, what he was turning into, what the training and all that was doing for him beyond just the physical. You know, the things I was learning from my instructor to be able to help my son. And I started to realize that, you know, this is something I really, really want to do. I became passionate about. So I went on 3 different tracks. I was the student, I was the instructor, and then eventually became a school owner. So I could pass that knowledge on to other people and be able to teach kids all the things that I learned from my instructor and all the things I experienced, all the things I was becoming myself. And I was like, this is important stuff. This is something that I want to make sure that I can do my part in other people's lives to help them become productive, to become effective, to become happy, to become driven, passionate. So I dedicated myself to what I do, and becoming a school owner gave me the power to be able to do it the way I felt was the most effective, most efficient, and best way according to how I learned it. So I dedicate myself every single day to my students, because and I do that many different ways. One of which is taking care of myself, doing the things I need to do, learning the things I need to learn to make myself better, so I can pass that on to them. And it's not a job at all. It's not work. It's a passion. It's something I love, and I'll do it for the rest of my life. I have no desire to ever retire. I may move into bigger, better things, but I'll never stop. It's who I am now. It's become my personality. It's become my everything, and it's just, to me, it's been an incredible journey. I learn as much from my students as they learn from me, if not more. They teach me every day, and it's something that when you dedicate yourself to something, I learned that you get way more out of it than you ever thought you would. If you put the time into it, you put the effort into it, you put the desire into it, the drive, the passion, it'll continue to give and give and give and give. And it's been an amazing journey for me, and I don't see it ending.
And that's, and Mr. Yarwood, it's so great to hear that, right? As a business coach, for me to hear that passion in somebody, it's one of the reasons I'm a business coach, right? I mean, I had spent 23 years as a sales manager in a liquor and wine industry. I've been in, at night times, I worked in restaurants and bars and in catering. I've been a workaholic my whole life and building up this experience. And then I worked for a personal training and development company for 10 years in the evenings and weekends, and traveled the country and even went to England and led a program in London. And I look at, why I'm a coach, why I'm a business coach. It's the same reason, the passion that I have and the love that I have of supporting somebody, and the fact that I get paid for it.
Bonus.
It's a bonus.
Yep.
People go, oh yeah, whatever. It's like, yeah, you just like the money. And, it's like, well, yeah, of course I like the money because I got to pay my bills. I got to pay for this computer, my phone and iPad and, and the clothes I wear. And, and I look at it and go, yeah, the deal is, though, in the long run, I look and see the people that I help on a day-to-day basis that aren't my clients. And I look at the personal growth and dedication I have to coaching, and I see the impact that martial arts has on my life. And I look and go, hey, many martial arts have a structured path of progression, such as belt ranks or skill levels, which require dedication to achieve. Each milestone then is reached. It reinforces the importance of setting goals, which is part of what I do as a coach, working toward them and taking pride in one's achievement, fostering personal growth. Now, I'm not a big guy for awards. I'm not a big guy for, yes, it's cool to get a new belt to test and level up to the next belt and color. But we've often joked, Mr. Yarwood and I, that, what people don't understand is when you become a black belt and you pass that black belt, it's like, okay, now I can begin to learn what this is all about. Yep. Because the black belt signifies that I can do the basic moves, the basic forms sufficiently well enough to show that I've learned something. I can do these things. Now let's really take it to the level where you can begin to understand the next level of Taekwondo. Yep. And I look at what we're doing here in having these StreamYard podcasts, videocasts, as a way to demonstrate to people what it is to have a black belt attitude, what it is to have black belt in life. What does it look like to wake up every morning, have a black belt attitude when you get out of your bed? I know one of the most famous YouTube videos is an admiral talking about SEALs training. And Admiral Craven. And he says, we teach people how to make their bed. And people go, well, what's the significance of that? Why do you get bent out of shape teaching somebody how to make their bed in the morning? What does that have to do with war? And it's like, no, it has to do with creating a level of integrity in your life that no matter how hard your day is, no matter where your day is, you start it with creating something with a degree of perfection. And at the end of your workday, at the end of your training, you get to come home to a well-made bed to get into, like a fresh bed, like a fresh start.
Yep.
And, both my parents were in the military, so it was nothing new to me going in the military and doing this. In fact, it was super easy. And I was very good at being one of those people that, slept on my back without moving so I could wake up in the morning, roll out of the bed, and pull the covers tight and be done in 30 seconds versus having these guys that had the covers everywhere. They stripped them, pulled them, moved them, and they had to make their bed fresh. So, the little tricks you learn, right? Like that gave me an extra 2 minutes. So, and that was a personal goal. Those are personal goals for everybody. And the drill instructors, that was a personal goal. So much like that, fostering this personal growth in martial arts, I really like this dedication in martial arts that, and I know it's the skill for the month at the studio. So anything else you want to say on goal achievement and personal growth?
Just run real quick. When we talk about color belt to black belt, once you get to first degree black belt, you're at the base of the mountain. Right? The color belt is the journey through the forest to get to the base of the mountain. Black belt, first degree, is at the base. Now you start climbing. Right? So it's while a lot of people think black belt is the ultimate goal, it's a great goal to have, but it's just the beginning. You're just getting started. You haven't even figured anything out yet. You're like, all right, time to learn. So that's why all the physical stuff comes first, and then we can start teaching you the rest afterwards. So with dedication, it's kind of a foundational life skill. If you're not dedicated to something that you enjoy, something that's important to you, something you have passion for, then you're just doing it. You're not really in it, right? You're not involved in it. You're not being part of it. It's not becoming part of you. When you dedicate yourself to something, it takes on a different meaning. It takes on a different life of its own. It becomes part of you. And we talk about you can build your confidence. Confidence is a huge thing. When you can stand up straight, feel good about yourself, tell people how you feel about what they're saying to you, express whatever it is that you're going through. That confidence is a huge thing. It says confidence is the results of dedicated practice, such as mastering a technique or achieving a new rank, boost your confidence. I would say even more so, learning about who you are, knowing that you can do something, boost your confidence as well. Each accomplishment reinforces a student's self-belief and resilience, which translates into greater confidence in other areas of life. So when we train in martial arts and we build that confidence, maybe they're working on a kick that they've been struggling with, and all of a sudden they get it. That boost of, oh, wow, all right, I can do this. Translate that to, say, a kid in school who's struggling with a subject, and he, got another life skill, perseveres through, figures it out. Suddenly it goes, I got it. Confidence gets built there too, right? He can go back to thinking about what he felt when he learned that new move and translate it to what he's doing in school. Or somebody at work who's working on a project and they're at a barrier that they're not being able to figure it out. To build that confidence to suddenly break through, confidence just explodes in people. And having the dedication to make sure that you are not quitting, keep going, you'll figure it out, is a huge part of our training.
For me, the next number 8 here is self-improvement beyond martial arts. And then number 9 is sense of community and responsibility. And I look at those 3 things, and I truly believe that if you are not expanding and growing, you are shrinking and shriveling.
Yep.
I look at, and this is just my view of old people that are empowered, that are filled with possibility, self-esteem, confidence. Many of the martial artists, Buddhists, Shaolin monks, Kung Fu, all these that are 80 and 90 years old, and they don't look a day over 50. Right? That, I look at that and I go, there's something to this. I want what they have. And the opportunities that come from being a part of a community, part of an organization, part of developing that team responsibility, not just individual, but that team responsibility. Because when you're sitting there supporting somebody, when you have people come out and do their form, right, 2 at a time, to be able to watch and share and cheer them on and support them, to be able to support each other in, oh my God, what was that next move? I can't remember. I keep making the same mistake. And working through it is such a reward, such a powerful opportunity. And my goal in us doing this is to create something that is a lifelong practice. Like you, I started when I was young, not as young as you. I started when I was in my mid-20s in karate versus taekwondo. And I, rose through the colored belt ranks and forms, and my former wife came and joined. And when she quit, I lost confidence, lost the ability, lost the drive to go there, and I quit. And if, I know we're not supposed to have regrets. I know we're supposed to look at everything as training and development, moving us forward. And yet I still see that as a regret. Because I look and see, where would I be now, right? If I, had 35 years of training under my belt.
Yep.
Yeah.
I sometimes feel that way too. Not that it wasn't necessarily anything I did to make me quit, but I was 13 years old. I would be 40 years down the road now if I'd have continued in what I was doing. So yeah, it's not necessarily a regret. It's just like, where would I be now had I continued back then versus what I've been doing now? How much further down the road? Would I be further down the road? I don't know, right? It's hard to say. But yeah, I know for me, our community is strong. Our parent community, our student community, our support community, it's huge. We support each other. We go to tournaments. I mean, we have families who travel to Denver every year to compete. They're not even, they're part of our family. And we had this last Worlds that we went to, we had 14 people go. I mean, that's a huge commitment. They got to spend money on travel. They got to spend money on hotel. They got to spend money on competing, on all the other stuff, food. And they're willing to do that, willing to spend that energy, that time, that money to come be part of the community. And that's dedication to me. They're willing to step out. They go to all the tournaments locally. We were in Fort Worth, Texas for Fall Nationals. We got people going there. They're willing to step up and be part of something bigger than them and to support everybody else who's doing it. And in turn, support themselves, because now, when they find them, they're not only dedicated to the community, but they're dedicated to themselves as well. And I know, because I've talked to several of the parents who've joined Taekwondo because of their kids. They have gotten way more out of it than they anticipated. They thought, oh yeah, we're just going to hang out with our kids and have some fun. We have parents who are like, this is like one of the best decisions I've made. They're using that stuff. You know, we have one of our parents who's a teacher. She's using what she's learning in our school where she teaches, and it's being effective. And she comes and tells me all the time about all the things that she's doing and how effective it is. And it's like, that's just awesome, because that in turn makes me feel good about what I'm doing, right? And that I can be have that much of a contribution in somebody else's life. I'm affecting kids that I've never met, that I don't know, that I might never meet, right? But I'm having an impact because of impacting the person who's impacting them directly. And then I look at it, I mean, now that becomes a huge responsibility too. You know, we don't know who we have impact on. We never know, right? So doing what we do, we have to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do the right way, because we could be impacting somebody 3 people down the road, right? What do they call it? 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
We have no idea. We may never know, but that's a huge responsibility that I have on my shoulders, you know, that I take very seriously, right? So being dedicated to what I do is a huge part, because if I wasn't dedicated, I would just be doing it, going through the motions. I might have a negative impact on people because I'm not putting all of me into it. I'm just kind of going through the motions. And when I do that, that affects my students, that affects those parents, that affects that community, that affects those kids down the road. It has that ripple effect, right? And I want that ripple to be a positive ripple, not a negative ripple.
You know, I wrote something, are you or your kids struggling with confidence? And I said, are you or your kids, right?
Yeah.
Parents as well. Are you at a barrier and are you searching for a breakthrough? So many people think that they're, if I just grin and bear it, if I just do this, or if I just ignore it, the headache will go away. This will go away. That'll go away. In martial arts, dedication is about building one's inner strength, resilience, and respect for the art, and I say for everything in your life, contributing to both martial skills and character development. Through dedication, students become not just skilled practitioners, but also disciplined, focused, and grounded individuals in their own lives.
To me, that's the most important part.
Yep. And it's self-evident. It's evident, right? Not self-evident. It's evident when you meet you and see you what's important.
My goal whenever I'm interacting with anybody is to always leave them feeling better than before they met me. I want them to have a positive experience with me, to recognize that, hey, this is somebody that says and does what he means, right? I'm not a fluff guy. I don't blow smoke, right? If I tell you something, I mean it. And I like to have fun. I like to joke around. I like to poke, right? But it's, to me, if I leave a bad impression on somebody, I'm not doing my job, right? That's what I say. That's that negative ripple, because they might go say, hey, we go talk to the next guy and say, have you met that Mr. Yarwood guy? He's kind of a jerk. Like, well, okay, maybe that person never met me, but now if I do go meet them, their first impression has already been made before they even said a word to me. I heard you're a jerk, right? I don't want that. And it's important to me that I have a positive impact on people that I meet, because it affects them and those that they meet and those that they interact with.
The vicious circle.
Yeah, I'd rather harness the positive side than the negative.
Yeah, and I think to go back to number 9 and just read what you've written and you have on this document. Dedication creates a sense of belonging and responsibility toward fellow practitioners, people you're training with, and instructors. By showing up and supporting others, students contribute to a positive training environment and build strong bonds with their martial arts community. And this, some people go, well, I'm super introverted, I'm shy, I don't know how, and I don't know why. This is a great method. It's a great way to come out of your shell at your own pace.
Yep. And that's where we go back to that confidence, right? If you're introverted, it's usually a confidence thing, right? We can start to build that confidence little by little to the point where they forgot that they were scared.
Yep. Yeah, well, I think this was really good for dedication in martial arts. For those of you that are watching today or come in and watch the replay of today, check out the one from last week, from Sunday night, where we talked about progress in skill mastery, building physical strength and mental strength, discipline and self-control, perseverance through challenges, and respect for the art and tradition. Yeah, and on another personal note, I look at it as there are many things you can do, and I know there's homework for us to do at home as a martial artist, stretching, kicking, remembering the forms, working through the forms. The question that I want to leave you with is, what are you doing to support the growth of your body, not weight-wise, the growth of your mind, and what a luxury it is to be able to have this opportunity. And there's always specials, there are deals that Mr. Yarwood will make for the first month. So I invite you to come down, interview Mr. Yarwood, and look and see what are the benefits. Have him share some of the benefits for you in your life. So reach out to him on Facebook, reach out to him on Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, send
Google.
me a message and we'll connect, and I'll connect you with Mr. Yarwood. That will also be a beautiful opportunity. And thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Yarwood. I appreciate being able to make a difference in the world with this as a conduit.
Yes, sir.
And with that,
see you on the mats.
We'll see you next week.